and we're going to get to work on a classic Star Trek show that deals with optimism and the future.
Here we go. I can't wait.
And I guess there's only one more thing to say. Hit it.
All hands, battle stations. Red alert. I repeat, red alert. This is no drill. This is no drill.
Okay, so now we got it. They're actually doing a Pike series. Alright. Let's take this on bit by bit here. After how many year or so of them insisting, no, we're not going to do anything like that. We'd never see the Enterprise. We'd never see Spock. What do we got? And one of Kurtzman's conditions, it had to be no more male captains. There was going to be a female of color. And what do you got? A straight white male as you lead. This can be taken as a tacit admission that their way isn't working. In fact, Bound in the Comics, their take on it's like this could have to do with the merger, actually. And word from on high saying, get back to regular Star Trek or else. And this is the way of trying to, have their cake and eat it, too. Really? I mean, on the one hand, nobody hates this cap. Pike was the one good thing that came out of Discovery at this point. Mainly because they were kind of limited by what they could screw up. And the stuff they did screw up, they had to go back and reshoot. Because apparently there was a lot of thing where Pike was having to kneel down and pray before every major to command decision. I mean, there was nothing. Granted, we only had the pilot to go by, but there was nothing in that to indicate Pike was deeply religious. In fact, they wanted, what was that thing where he thought he was in hell? Yeah. How did the keeper describe, the magistrate keep it? From a fable you once heard in childhood. Now, I don't think that the Telosians thought, just came up with the idea that it was a fable. I think they pulled it from Pike's mind, that this was a fable he was told. In other words, we're talking a time in Earth's history where the Bible is not considered literal truth. It's a story. Story with allegories and meanings and stuff, but not to be taken literally. So, yes, Earl Grey. Still kind of hot. All right. So yeah, there's nothing there to indicate he was the deeply religious person, which I think they probably stuck in just to make fun of deeply religious people. There's some indications that he was quite the opposite. Okay. And I imagine there's probably because some of the stuff that came out, from behind the scenes thing, was that there was some pushback from Anson Mount on this. In the last meeting was literal pushback, as in there was an altercation involving Mount and some director. Now, I think you could probably run some names on there, but Kurtzman was doing some directing, or whoever was, calling the shots on the set that day. But, normally when, it's just his contract ended, but contracts being ended don't get reported to human resources. So something happened on there. So I would like to think that if they managed to coax Anson Mount back to do a Star Trek series with this crew, that he was hopefully allowed some creative control over it. He had veto power over stupid stuff they tried to make him do. Because I think that was probably what the argument probably was, that they were trying to make him do something totally idiotic. They're trying to get an explanation of why are we doing this? This makes no sense, which was a common refrain from everyone in the cast from the very first episode. This makes no sense. Nobody has any problems with the cast for the most part. Ethan Peck needs some coaching, I think, to get Spock down. And he also needs some decent scripts. He's been given absolute idiotic garbage to work with so far. He has not been playing Spock. He's been playing some weenie little emo twit with pointed ears. So, now I've been making quite a fuss over on Twitter. Hopefully, getting some traction that way. I'm posted directly to Anson Mount, and on Rebecca Remains. All these. Don't let them fuck this up. In fact, main thing is keep Kurtzman and his band of morons as far away from this thing as possible. I know that's not going to happen because they're executive producers and they're apparently writing the pilot. But again, it's only writing so far. It's standing sets they've already got and people writing things down. No production has happened because of the cough, okay? And nothing's going to happen until they get the all clear. And we can end our little shutdown over the flu. And we can, get back to work. I think the most optimistic thing about this whole announcement is the fact that they think there's still going to be a CBS All Access in a year. That's the big thing right there. Because they're saying CBS All Access, there's not going to be a CBS All Access next year. That's the way things are going. But let's take a look at some of the stuff in the official announcements here. You got two things here from a Variety and two from Bounding the Comics, which are basically quoting Variety for the most part. But, saw the video with Rebecca Romaine, Anson Mount, and Ethan Peck all making the little announcement. The fact that Anson Mount's still sporting a full beard and Ethan Peck has got a goatee, they're not starting shooting anytime soon, okay? So, Strange New World. This is after them floating around, we call it Star Trek Enterprise. Guys, that title's taken, okay? By a much better show than yours, I think. And no, we're not going to forget about, I'm sure CBS Home Video would still like to sell some Star Trek Enterprise, DVD sets and Blu-ray sets. I know I'd like to get one. And yet, nobody has a problem with the cast. We don't like, again, the cast, I don't know what Ethan Peck's, fandom status is, but we know Anson Mount's a big fan. Rebecca Romaine says she's a big fan. There was this kind of sketchy on some of the details during the interview, but who knows? It wasn't exactly an interview environment he was on. I think it was a red carpet thing. But here we go. It's going to be, written by Akiva Goldsman. Hack! I don't care about the Academy Award. It was for best adapted screenplay based on a book of a real event. He couldn't really wander off field very far with that. As far as his genre work, he is an idiot. He needs to be barred from even coming near another genre production again. Alex Kurtzman, same difference. He's an idiot. He's a hack. He has an original thought in his head. And again, he keeps forgetting the Spider-Man franchise. Sony, he ran that in the dirt in the Dark Universe or Universal. He killed it in one movie. So how the hell he keeps getting work is beyond me, okay? And Jenny Lumet, I think her right now her biggest thing is the fact that she's, I think the daughter of Sidney Lumet, I'd rather see Sidney writing this show, frankly, okay? At least then the F-bombs will be earned, Yeah, this news will be the perfect complement to the franchise, bringing a whole new perspective and series of adventures to Star Trek. Okay. With this band of idiots running it, no, you're not. You're going to get a bunch of hackneyed stuff. You're probably going to get a few more plagiarism lawsuits, too. Because there's a lot of writers out of work that frankly need the income, and they're going to say, hey, if I can't get someone to hire me, I'll pull some nice little, liability bucks off of your asses, okay? Because, the tardigrade lawsuit's not going away anytime soon. Apparently, everyone in-house was rather shocked when Anas appealed that. And I think the makers of Mass Effect probably have a case for pretty much the entire run of Picard. Because massive ripoffs on that one, apparently. So, like Gary Durant, the man has priors. He's done this all his career, apparently. But this is on full display here with these last two shows. And there's one thing that's been a pretty constant throughout the history of Star Trek is the writers have never been afraid of exercising their rights as writers. Now maybe the wording of the Writers Guild has changed enough to make it more difficult, but they're going to try. If you start ripping them off without giving proper credit, Alex, expect to hear from a lot of lawyers in the coming years. I'm sure Melinda Snodgrass is still trying to, looking into her options regarding your, constant use of her creation of Bruce Maddox, without accreditation, certainly without payment to her, and also apparently without even watching the damn episode you're basing your show on. The whole premise had to deal apparently with denying these, androids their rights as beings. That whole issue was settled in that episode. Did you watch it all the way to the end? I seriously doubt it. Otherwise, you never would have put pen to paper in the first damn place, or hit the fingers on the keyboard to even start this nonsense. But let's get back to the issue of the Pike series here. So it's another case of where the executive producers are probably going to outnumber the cast by 2-1. Everyone's, you can be executive producer, you be the executive producer, you be the executive producer, you're all executive producers. The thing is, that's not just a meaningless credit. Within the union rules of Hollywood, titles carry a certain paycheck with them. Like, you're just a line producer, you get paid this much. But you're an executive producer, you get a little more, a little more slice of the pie type of thing. So, yeah, when we heard about the fans' outpouring of love for Pike, number 1, and Spock when they boarded Star Trek 70, we meant it. Yeah, sure, because it meant we hated the crap you were putting out. You never see the other side of the coin on there. It's a rejection of your junk. The deep history in Star Trek canon, yet so much of the story is yet to be told. And let's see, are you actually going back and covering the 10 years he commanded the Enterprise? Or are we going to pick up where we left off in Discovery, in which case you only got like a year and a half left before Kirk comes on board? In which case you got to figure out some way to get rid of number 1, and we already, you're probably going to blow the timeline again with Pike and have the accident happen, a week before he actually leaves command. And you're going to hire Jake Cannavale as Kirk? Really? I appreciate the fact it's Jenny's son, but no! This kid he didn't really impress on The Mandalorian, okay? He played a perfect idiot, let's put it that way. Great little dumbass for the Mando to kick around, but it's like no one in their right mind is going to see this guy as commanding the Enterprise, okay? There's nothing about him that even reminds remotely of Bill Shatner, other than he's a male and he's got all limbs, There's nothing white bread, Iowa farm boy about this guy, What's always fun is going through the comments of some of these things. I'm on Variety right now. Here's one from yesterday from Clem Watkins. So deflating to see Hacks, Kurtzman, and Goldsman always involved in Trek projects. For the love of Val, let them take their talents elsewhere. It's got a high, hard heat. Don't screw it up, Goldsman, with a response. I'm sorry, but Akiva Goldsman must screw it up. It's what he does. He's been doing it for 25 years. Remember when he used to blame Batman and Robin on just Joel Schumacher? And then the Lost in Space movie came out, where the script sounded pretty darn just like it. His screwing up is one feature as a director can't even compare to the movies he was screwing up as screenwriter back in the 90s. And that someone's kind of echoing my thing. Please, please, please don't fuck this one up. Picard was going along nicely, and his death was well done. Nice way of telling you until, he comes back as an android. And I think they're trudging through crap long before that. There was just the cherry on top of the shit sundae. Quite possibly the most ridiculous and insulting thing I've ever seen on any TV program. Even Discovery's okay if completely unnecessary, but the whole premise of trying to tie things together with a stupid Spock sister that no one's ever heard of, and then she disappears in the future. I mean, come on. So CBS, you have a chance to do something right for James with Captain Pike's story. Please, 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 please don't fuck this one up. Let me see. There's a good one. It's almost like they're in a race with Star Wars to see how thin they can stretch the franchise, but at least Trek has some room for such growth. I've just been buying the DVDs of CBS A series, which saves money in the long run. Because that's the thing, Those are just griping. No, if you look at the complaints, usually are very long and detailed. There's specific issues to be dealt with here. It's the gushers that go like, I like it, click. Please bring it on. Where do I vote? Click. No. There's one, William Weatherby. Maybe we'll get lucky and they'll try to sell some actual Star Trek stories instead of hijacking a popular franchise to cram woke PC crap down our throats this time. I wouldn't count on that. Calling him an older man. Another CBS made in Canada turkey, courtesy of unoriginal and uncreative Alex Kurtzman, the supreme plagiarist that specializes in capitalizing other people's works and creations in this insane age of remakes and reboots, since nobody today has any original creative ideas. And Ethan Peck is Spock, please. There's only one Spock, but Leonard Nimoy, who's been deceased since 2014, and other people trying to fill their shoes is impossible. And this other bullshit idea of trying to make another animated Star Trek series today is also a huge waste of time. Filmation Associates already did that in 73, earning them an Emmy Award in 75 for Best Children's Program, but Kurtzman again thinks he can single-handedly try to get creative, but the man has zero skills to accomplish that feat. CBS All Access thinks it's got the bull by the balls by exploiting the former Paramount franchise out their Picard and Discovery shows, but all they've done here is remaking Star Trek Enterprise, way better because the new stuff is being shot in Canada instead of keeping the production on the Paramount studio lot. Just shows what cheapskates they've all become. All the reimagined junk from Discovery is hardly a successor to Roddenberry's creation, which is about as thrilling as trying to watch this Ethan Peck play a bearded Mr. Spock in his so-called youth, which is so lame and pathetic. But Viacom CBS still wants people to pay to watch this shit, and that may be okay for the majority to do so, but paying to watch this or this lame-ass Twilight Zone remake just compounds the insult to a much higher level, especially since this shit comes from Alex Kurtzman, who thinks he's got the magic touch. What a damn joke. Okay, from Vincent K. Britton here. This will be a case study in idiocy. Everyone hates the new Trek except for the people that claim to like it but don't watch it. People enjoyed Pike/Spock because there's a glimmer of the good Trek there. They still ruin it in the end with emo Spock, but if they are not complete morons, they will actually give the fans something worth watching with this little spinoff. I'm actually hopeful the IP holders in search of money will force Kurtzman to step aside and let some talented people take the reins of this new series. So hoping for the best, but I'm not holding my breath. I mean, how many STDs does the guy have to give you before he's kicked to the curb? Can't wait for them to further ruin the history of Star Trek. Let me guess, this series will look as futuristic as the other shows. There will be hundreds of lens flares, and every female character will always be right, no matter what the story does. Great. I dread just how bad this will be. So yeah, it's a pretty mixed bag. And again, this is Variety. This isn't one of the usual message boards or or YouTube comment. This is on Variety.com. So I think you get a little better mix here of what's going on here. And right on the heels of that, we get another thing. New Star Trek series featuring Spock and Pike will be optimistic and more episodic. In other words, they're kind of admitting that the serialized storytelling approach was a bit of a dismal failure.
Massive cock-up is more like it.
You see, one thing, when you're doing a major serialized story, you got to make sure it's a good story. And, of course, you got to make sure you don't screw it up, in case of Game of Thrones. That one had pretty much all of us right up through the, I mean, apparently, some people say they started falling apart by the fourth or fifth season. I thought it was okay up, till season 7. I was like, okay, I'm following along here. But then season 8 happened. And this is how you kill a franchise. And the ones who are making this stuff really need to pay attention. Because that last season of Game of Thrones, and especially the last few episodes, have pretty much destroyed the viability of the Game of Thrones franchise. In fact, it's pretty much ended as a franchise. Because now, I'm going to say no, you can't say nobody, but the vast majority are not going to bother getting the DVD. I was going to start getting those on Blu-ray. But seeing how it ended, no. I want nothing to do with that show. I have a little Tyrion Lannister, action figure I picked up for cheap a few years ago. And I might hold on to him. But I forget getting any more. Again, I'm not going to bother with any of them. And the HBO has pretty much done the same thing because they were planning on like 5 different spin-off series for Game of Thrones. And then it happened, and of course, they're the ones doing it, so they have to pay attention to what's happening with their own numbers and their own subscribers fleeing for the hills. So while, yeah, their politics of the upper-ups may be just as far left-leaning SJW nutso, as the producer, but when you start losing money and losing subscribers, you have no choice but to wake up. And before you do that thing of get woke, go broke, you have to stop before you hit the second part of that phrase. And so all the spin-offs degenerated to where you got a pilot for one and the order was canceled for anything else. And of course, Denioff and what's his face, Weiss, yes. They were going to go after Star Wars and wreak havoc over there. Well, again, Disney is not entirely populated by morons either. And so they pulled the plug. None further review? No, I don't think so. Trilogy? No, who said trilogy? No, I don't care if that's a press release we did. You wouldn't promise a trilogy. There's nothing in writing saying you're getting a trilogy. Oh, there was? Oh, so much for there. You look on the clause on there, we can cancel this anytime we want to, and we want to, so bye. That's the thing. The smart studios, these things wait at their advantage, so if they can pull the plug on it. Apparently, Moonves wasn't smart, because otherwise, I'm still convinced that the way these things have performed, Kurtzman would have been out on his ass after the first season of Discovery. Because all we get, subscriber numbers. That's over the entire service. And it's pretty much, common sense. Not everyone on CBS All Access who subscribes to it is watching Star Trek, Discovery, or Star Trek Picard, or is going to watch this one. People subscribe to these things for different reasons. The biggest reason people subscribe to something like CBS All Access is for catching up on shows that are on CBS.
Young and the Restless.
Like my wife, for the soap operas, keep track on those. Or sporting events, or the news, or watching old reruns. Because, they always say, Picard is the highest, our most watched original show. Why the qualifier original? Do we take that to mean that it's being beat out by some 40-year-old reruns? Is Gunsmoke beating out Star Trek Picard? Your original Twilight Zone is beating the living shit out of your remake, That sort of thing. Because if they go out there saying, it's our most watched show, they can be sued for false advertising if they're lying. So they got to put these little qualify best watched original show. And again, if they're being beaten out by All in the Family or MASH or any other number of old CBS shows that haven't been aired in 20, 30 years. Old Hawaii Five-0. It's like, no, we got to watch these things with several shakers, not just grains, the entire salt shaker. But yeah, this has got to be, just tacit admission that the overarching story arc has been a failure, especially since nobody liked the story. You got a very dark, depressing, foul-mouthed, characters who didn't like each other, or annoying as hell. And it's like, no, why should we turn back in every week to follow the story of these morons? In which case, the violations of canon and and the established rules of the universe only add insult to injury. Because I think some of these things are some of these franchises are starting to realize, we don't need the old fans, we need new ones. No, you need the old fans. Where do you think new fans come from? Old farts like us. We're the ones who bring in people. Hey, watch this. Like I've been saying for decades now, who's going to watch a Star Trek show that Star Trek fans don't like? Where is the logic there? If you're trying to get people to watch a show that the hardcore aficionados of the given product or property don't want anything to do with, something's wrong there, okay? These are the people who know that property inside and out, and they're not going near it. So why should I, who don't know anything about it? We're going to try and harken back to some classical Trek values to be optimistic and be more episodic. We'll take advantage of the serialized nature of character and story building, but I think our plots will be more close-ended than you've seen in either Discovery or Picard. Well, any close-ended thing would be more than what got Discovery or Picard. It was cliffhanger after cliffhanger and cliffhanger, and it's like to just fall off the damn cliff already. I mean, the reason why it worked on Deep Space Nine when they started doing it during the war is because it was a good story by writers who knew what the hell they were doing, not just with storytelling, but also with Star Trek. The writer's staff of DS9 were all hardcore Star Trek fans from childhood. And they knew when to bend and tweak the rules. They knew where the limits were. Better than Rick Berman did, probably, okay? Because they're able to take, the idea was to test the ethics and the ideals of the Federation. But they didn't change the ethics and the rules of the Federation to do it. You still had the same established thing from Roddenberry on down. This is what the Federation believes in. This is what Starfleet stands for. And they put it to the test by bringing in an adversary, the Dominion, who didn't give a rat's ass about that. So it's a case of what happens when these idealistic characters are faced with this foe that does not care and will not listen and will not negotiate. They don't care about your little kumbaya moment here, and they're a little pontificating. If we used to do that on Earth, centuries ago, but we learned better. We don't care. We're going to blow up your colony, and here's the ears of the guys who are in charge of it. Have a nice day. We'll be here for you next. Picard said, end of QU. It's like, you need a kick in our complacency. That's what DS9 was, a major kick in the nuts of the complacency of the Federation in general. And I think, there's a little bit of when after Cisco, a little frustrating, chat with Starfleet Command about why they don't see what's going on. Maybe he was curious. Somebody said, why don't they understand what's going on? I was like, because they live in paradise. Earth is a paradise. There's no war. There's no poverty. There's not even pollution now. It's easy to be a saint when you live in paradise. Meanwhile, out on the frontier, out where you're, the nearest Federation outpost is God knows how far away. You're in an old rickety, Cardassian mining station sitting next to a wormhole that everyone wants to get to. Your ideas only go so far. Pretty soon it's like, okay. Or to pull from another one, it's like the little chat between Sean Connery and Kevin Costner. Malone and Elliot Ness in the church. Where he's asking, what are you prepared to do to get Capone? And Costner goes, I'll do everything within law. All right. And then what are you prepared to do? And he didn't quite get it. Look, here's how it works. He brings a knife. You bring a gun. He puts one of your guys in the hospital, you put one of his in the morgue. That's the Chicago way. And that's how you get Capone. And that's the kind of situation they were faced with at DS9. That was compelling because, again, they tried to get these guys to hold true to their ideals that they've been raised with, for generations at this point. That's why, in The Pale Moonlight, which Kurtzman couldn't write if his life depended on it. I'm guaranteeing you right now because his mind doesn't work that way. That was a man, Cisco, wrestling with going against every ideal he'd been brought up with, but knowing this is the only way we're going to live. If we're going to survive this war, we need the Romulans on our side, and it doesn't matter how the hell you get them in. If we lie to them, fine. As long as they're on the side, we can deal with the aftermath afterwards. And that's about as dark and as serious as they really got. But that was gut-wrenching watching this thing. It's large, and it's not a big flashy thing. There's very little effects in that thing. I think there's a scene where you have the Romulan shuttle shows up, but most you don't even see it until they're already in the hangar bay. They close it and it decloaks. That's really it for the effects. Everything else is mostly Avery Brooks talking to the camera. And the reenacted scene, and it's all in the station. It's a bottle episode. But it's one of the most powerful ones of the entire run of the entire franchise. Forget just DS9, every series, has to, bow down and say, hey, props to this one. In fact, there's one thing that kind of gives me a little bit of a kick. Because, they did 3 seasons of Discovery. You know how many episodes that is? 30. If assuming that this third season is going to be typical 10 episodes or 10 hours, because I think they're going to cram the last 2 episodes together and make it a final movie. That's where you're getting your Discovery movie. They're going to make a movie. No, they're doing a series finale and they're calling it a TV movie. Oh, God. Both Goldsman and Peck are mum on Story. When asked if Strange New Worlds viewers would get to see Spock during Pon farr, Peck, without needing to explain to him that Pon farr is a period of... I really have no idea, but I would think it's a strong possibility. Oh, dear God. If they do that, again, the only way out is alternative timeline. Because that will be a cannon buster right there. It's right there in Amok time that he had never gone through Pon farr before. Talking about how he had hoped the ancient Dryads would escape him because of his half-human heritage. And also, you'd think that if it was even a possibility that Spock wouldn't have joined Starfleet in the first place and signed on for who knows how many years on a mission. You know, he was trying to get as far away from Vulcan as possible. That's why he stayed on the Enterprise for all those years. If they do a Pon farr story with Ethan Peck, it's like that will be a cannon buster. Okay, mark my words, that will do it. Because Pon farr is a misunderstood concept anyway with all these writers. Even Voyager screwed it up royally. Because it is not Vulcan puberty. That's the common misconception right there. They're thinking, it's like, no, it's not, There has to be a bond in there between the two people involved. I mean, Dorothy Fontana, when she was asked the question about, there's a novel, Vulcan, exclamation point. Kathleen Skyler with it, but I think. But apparently asked Dorothy Fontana about it, and I think Dorothy did a forward for it. It said, Vulcans can have sex any damn time they want to. Pon farr is just the time they have to. And I would take it a little further, like it's only when you got that mating drive where they're supposed to pick a mate. Once they pick the mate, or in Spock's case, been thoroughly rejected by the mate, the bond is either sealed with the mate, in which case I don't know, debatable in that they would still go through Pon farr every so often to get it going. But once that link is broken, and it was very well broken between Spock and T'Pring, then that breaks the cycle. In which case, Spock just goes back and, if he needs to fill the urge, just goes back into his, laboratory with a copy of Biggins and, gets their business and goes back to work. But this is why Ethan Peck, Rebecca Romaine, and Anson Mount are still highly regarded by the fans, in spite of what they're making them do on these shows, because these guys have gone out to conventions, try and connect with the fan base, and make a point that they're fans themselves. They do they do appreciate being this. And that's why and going on their Twitter streams and talking directly to them, saying, please do not let them fuck this up. I especially made their Anson Mount, because I'm guessing, really, I'm just pure speculation, but based on the way Hollywood works sometimes, and you got an actor who's shown some reluctance to play nice with the morons in charge, that he was probably granted some creative control. So if they try to make him do something stupid, he can say, no, I'm not doing that. A lot of it just comes across as they're just reading notes. Okay, here, say these words. They're talking about Spock, about Star Trek being optimistic and about the future. Here, read this. And while I'm not doubting the sincerity of the Anson, Rebecca, or Ethan, I mean they're still just actors doing a role. I seriously doubt the sincerity or the integrity of the writers who gave them those lines. Just like it's about diversity. It's like, we had plenty of that. We practically invented it, you morons. I mean, diversity on Star Trek kind of go hand in hand. IDIC, infinite diversity and infinite combinations. It's been a staple of the show since the beginning. As soon as Roddenberry realized, okay, I got a show going, I think we can dig a little deeper and do something more meaningful than just, lock phasers on target. But yeah, if they mess this up, if we get another big steaming pile of crap, like we've done for the past few, attempts at this, then no. They will have shown that they cannot be trusted with anything of Star Trek, and it could very well just kill off the franchise altogether, because it's like, well, we ain't coming back. We're done. We are done. I don't care what kind of happy talk you say. Oh no, we've learned. We're going to be more diverse and more episodic. No, sorry, you're done. Get out. And it's not like we're really that starved for material. Because let's see, where is it?
What?
Here we are. Because, okay, bratty little twits. Is that, you don't like it? Go watch your thing. Well, hey, look at what I got here. Well, that's not it. That doesn't belong in there. Where did I put that? Here we are. Man, look at what I got here. Here's all 3 seasons on Blu-ray of the original show. And here's the Roddenberry Vault with the behind-the-scenes stuff, so I can learn about a lot of things on there.
And then we have Star Trek Continues.
Yeah, I got here's the Roddenberry Vault right there, and here's all 4 discs of Star Trek Continues. Well, there's people who know what they're doing, picked it up where they left off. And over in a box over there, I got all the movies, including a lovely little MST3K thing, where they take a riff on Star Trek V. It's the best way to watch Star Trek V, by the way. Is with, reasonable facsimiles of Joel, Crow, and Tom Servo sitting there in front, making the wise ass comments. Is it possible they'll do something right with this? Yeah, possible. Is it likely? No. Not knowing these guys, records and their previous, attempts. So no, I'm not the least bit enthusiastic about this. I am dreading this, and it is a pretty sad commentary when as diehard a fan as I am, I'm freaking working on the next concordance, for God's sake, with Bejo Trimble herself. And for me to be saying that I am not looking forward to a new Star Trek series, that says probably a couple of tons right there. That they have so eroded the trust in the fans that, at least in this case, and I know a lot of people feel the exact same way, if not worse. Yeah, if they screw this up, then this could very well be the end of it right there. At least for a very long time, until somebody comes forward and say, hey, I know how to fix it. Because, think of why Doctor Who sat fallow for so many years after and it was a few years between the end of the original series with Sylvester McCoy and the TV movie. It had been a few years then. And it was a bunch more years after the movie before Russell T Davies came in with his thing, because the head of the BBC said, we didn't intend for it to lay fallow for all those years. Just nobody came forward with an idea that we felt that would work. They were actively looking at it, and they tried a few things. They did some animated things for a while. Richard E. Grant was officially the Ninth Doctor. But it wasn't until Russell came up and said, hey, I know how to make this work. And he had a track record behind him from previous shows. So he could, so he wasn't just some newbie off the street. Wasn't just, flashing his credentials from the Doctor Who fan association. It's like, no, I got these other shows on here that I've done, and I can do this. And he finds, okay, fine. Here's your budget. Go cast. Go do a show for us. That's what it's going to take, I think, to fix Doctor Who. To fix Star Trek. It's going to have to finally pull the plug on this thing. Tell Kurtzman to go pound sand. Let the contracts expire so they can actually do something without them. Because I think that's part of the whole thing. As long as he keeps throwing things on the wall and developing this and developing that and announcing this and that, he can keep himself in business for a while. Even if because he still keeps trying to push this Section 31. And meanwhile, you got this stupid promotion picture they got there. And there's the whole crew, including Georgiou. Well, so much for the Section 31 show starring her. She's trapped in the future with everyone else, where they're going to, proceed to thoroughly strip mine Andromeda for story ideas. Expect that lawsuit. That'll make a few headlines. One former Roddenberry show suing Star Trek. That'll play great in the trades. And I look forward to seeing that one come down the pike there. Pun not intended. But, And again, just because they announce it doesn't mean it's going to happen either. Announcements are cheap. They announce things all the damn time, and they let them never happen. Like, where's Ryan Johnson's trilogy? Where's that? Where's that? Don't even take it as even an official announcement. There's a lot of things. Even they've gone through official announcements. There's been entire movies filmed and produced and finished and never been released. Because something or other happened. Something, some market change happened, or somebody fell out of favor with whatever, or they decided, nah, we'll just sit on this for a while. We will stand ready, and yes, I out of obligation to this, to the channel and to to everyone else. Yeah, I'll have to watch it, but again, I'm just one viewer, and I don't necessarily have to even click on CBS All Access at all to watch it. It's the old thing of the Fandom Menace is a consumer advocacy group. Okay, we are here to watch it, so you don't have to let you know, is this worth it, or is this just a waste of time and celluloid and bandwidth? And before anyone thinks, no, I'm not even going to bother looking at Ketwalski's channel for a while, because I'm sure he's crowing like a like a rooster saying, hey, see, it's happening. You blew it. You said it wasn't going to happen. Oh, it's happening. We're right. We're young. Yeah, right, sure. Again, nothing's been filmed yet. The most production that's been done so far on this Pike series is that announcement video. I mean, let's, phase 2. They had that was full announcement. They had scripts. They were building sets and putting costumes together. And even the people working on that show, most of them didn't know it was been canceled, months before, until they actually started making the movie. So at this point, don't count your tribbles before they breed, okay? So with that, PayPal, Patreon down below. We will talk at you later.